Welcome, everyone. My name is Jody Bird. I have the pleasure of working for the Office of the Vibration Isolation Seismic Control Manufacturers Association. On behalf of VISCMA leadership, many who are here today, I am pleased to have the opportunity to welcome you to our session. The goal of this brief webinar, as some of you might be aware, is to provide a summary of the importance of VISCMA as a growing association, a resource for education to industry professionals, as well as a place for developing standards and guidelines. I'll be joined in the presenter role by three of our current members, Angela Waters, Sarpa Arun, and Dawn Warwick. We are also joined by many of our dedicated members attending remotely to support with any questions as they become applicable. I do want to note that the session is being recorded, and this is for possible future public use. So we will be keeping all attendees on mute for the duration of the session. We will have a dedicated time at the conclusion of the session where we will remove our record function and we will be able to take any questions as needed. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass the microphone to our first presenter, Angela.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Angela Waters, and I've been involved with VISCMA regularly involved with VISCMA since 2015. So I'm going to talk about two large categories of why VISCMA is important, and the one category is technical reasons, and the other category are human resource reasons. So looking at the technical reasons, we really saw that there was a need to and an opportunity to grow the pie for everyone involved in our industry. What we do is rather a niche market within our industry. However, as authorities having jurisdiction become more and more knowledgeable of non-structural components and the importance of them being connected properly to buildings, we saw the opportunity to really grow the knowledge base, the opportunities, the available projects to benefit all of our member companies. And really, we wanted all the member companies to have consistency within the industry. We would see early on, 2+ decades ago, with non-member companies, that there was not a consistent application of the codes, standards, and guidelines. And we just saw that that was definitely a need. And as professionals, we are all very much important to us that the public safety be a high priority. So public people who are not involved with building construction, they may have vague ideas of what goes on in a building, but they really don't have that knowledge base. And then our work typically with non-structural components that are not part of the actual building's vertical gravity load resisting or wind and seismic resisting lateral structural system, that's even more of a niche specialized application within the building. So it's not fair to expect the public to have that knowledge. So we are really tasked with communication and holding people accountable in regard to public safety. Very important to us. Most of us are licensed professional engineers. Accountability, I mentioned that we want to be accountable within the industry. We want to make sure that there's accountability, that all the member companies are following the code standards and guidelines in a consistent manner. So when we look at, the lay people and people who are not involved in construction, not knowing as much about our niche industry and knowing how important it is to have the connections proper on equipment, HVAC equipment or industrial equipment that's on top of a roof, so that during a windstorm, during a seismic event, that equipment is safe and the people who might be walking down below around that building are safe as well. And we have the opportunity to learn from each other and look at white papers, technical papers that we address how not to do things, and we certainly learn from cautionary tales. There is a picture in the bottom right corner there of the slide that really illustrates how things can go awry when things are not connected properly. Even the non-structural components have to be connected properly. So we'll look at some more technical reasons on the next slide. So the benefits, customer benefits and increased profit margins are definitely a benefit from when we look at things more consistently, and there's accountability, and we've communicated with public safety, and that benefits our customers, it benefits our individual company members, and it benefits everyone involved in this type of industry. As far as acceptance criteria and code compliance and related products such as post-installed anchors, we want to make sure that we're supporting those and being consistent and encouraging all of the proper use and application following manufacturer's written instructions. And then again, this just, helps everyone to be successful. And as everyone's successful, from the installing contractors to our sales representatives to our colleagues inside and outside of the member companies for a particular project, it just is success for everyone. We also have the possibility of testing certification capabilities as a manufacturing organization, and that is definitely a benefit. And again, I've mentioned that we are definitely a niche industry. We are niche within ASHRAE and definitely niche within building construction, mechanical engineering, and structural engineering. So now we'll take a look at the human resources reasons. So really, we have resources expanded outside of individual members. So yes, we are competitors outside of our association, outside of VISCMA, but when we come together professionally and as a team to progress our goals and to progress different projects and webinars and bulletins that we're working on, we take off that competitor's hat and we put on a professional colleague's hat, and we're able to progress tools for our industry together. And again, we have a diverse pool of members, so that really helps to sharpen one another. Someone in a different part of the country may come across certain challenges more often than elsewhere, and we have that ability to use each other as a tool, a resource to learn together and to sharpen each other, and that's really a benefit. And that benefits our individual member companies as well as our association. We come back and we have been sharpened, we have recharged our batteries, we can stay on top of industry trends that way, and it's definitely a benefit. We'll take a look at some more human resources on the next slide. So our brand recognition, while people outside of our industry, our niche industry, people outside of building construction may have never heard of VISCMA before, we certainly have a good reputation. We are often, different members report during our 2 annual meetings each year that they might have run across 3 to 5 different project specifications that required a VISCMA member company to be involved. And so that's always good to hear. It's good to hear that feedback. And again, that increases each individual company's visibility. We have a website that's been worked on recently. And when people have that visibility and can use that as a resource and a tool, it does increase each member company's visibility. And it provides a unique conduit for us to have best practices and peer experience. Again, when it's just a limited niche industry within another industry, it's limited to the resources and access that we have to tools. So when we can collectively come together, we lift everyone up that way. And that is definitely an important human resource reason. So I have gone over the technical and human resource reasons. I am going to transition to our next speaker, and they are going to speak about what the world would look like without VISCMA and the history of VISCMA's founding. And I will turn it over to Don Warwick Jr. now. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. I am Don Warwick Jr. of the Vibration Eliminator Company. I have been a VISCMA member for the past 22 years, and I am currently the VISCMA president. I'm going to continue our webinar from Angela about a world without VISCMA. Without VISCMA as the central conduit, where would we be? Inefficient searches for resources, reduced human resources in best practice, the lack of skill improvement, and we would not be able to collaborate on creative solutions to difficult challenges that only those in our industry experience. We would have a lack of productivity for building construction industry and mechanical and structural consulting engineers. There would be negative impact to public safety. Without the numerous VISCMA documents, white papers, and webinars that we have collaborated together on for almost 2 decades now. Actually, for over 2 decades now. Exponential increases in risk of non-ethical companies creating incorrect copies of our engineered products. Without VISCMA, a level playing field would not exist. Zero accountability. Currently, we are accountable to our association colleagues and our industry through project specifications, requirements, citing VISCMA member companies as a requirement. Due to VISCMA member companies' efforts, we have had specifying engineers use our specifications and/or the VISCMA membership requirements, their specifications for vibration isolation and seismic. Measurable challenges to maintain high level of quality of our engineered products. Loss of significant industry trend knowledge outside of our own companies. We would be unable to share our collaborated expertise, our knowledge, and best practices to the construction industry. Going to VISCMA yesterday at its start. The discussion of creating the VISCMA Association was started back in 1998 by Bill Ferron of Kinetics Noise Control, who brought together Frank Andrews of Vibration Mountings and Controls, Pat Lama of Mason Industries, Robert Simmons of Amber Booth, Mark Zito of Sauce, and Don Warwick Sr. Vibration Eliminator. The founding members thought there were a number of things that an organization could accomplish which individual companies would not be able to do themselves. VISCMA determined it best to hire an outside management team, which was multi-service management headed at that time by Robert Ecker. The VISCMA Association was incorporated in April of 1999, and its first incorporated meeting was held in June of 1999 in Seattle, Washington, where the initial bylaws were established and approved. VISCMA's first projects and collaborations. VISCMA's first project goal in 2000 was to obtain funding to create 3 seismic restraint manuals for FEMA. In early 2001, FEMA approved the funding for the project. In November of 2001, we had our kickoff meeting in San Francisco with 40 industry professionals, inclusive of the VISCMA membership, collaborating together to start creating the first manual in a cooperative agreement between VISCMA, FEMA, and the American Society of Civil Engineers, ASCE. Each of our individual companies worked together, meeting every 6 weeks in different states for a 3-year period, creating these FEMA manuals, with our final approval meeting in New Orleans in 2004, closing out the project. Our VISCMA's 24-year existence, each member company has all provided their professional expertise in creating over 30 documents specifying, calculating, detailing installations, and explaining best practices for installation of vibration isolation and seismic restraint devices. As an association, we have also taken on national disasters and offered guidance with our response to the Hurricane Katrina back in August of 2005. I'm going to turn over the webinar now to Sarpar Arun of Vibroacoustics, as he will talk about VISCMA today.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Don, and thank you everybody for coming in. I'll be talking about VISCMA today and VISCMA tomorrow. My name is Sarpar Arun, and I've been involved in VISCMA for the past 8 years. But I have been involved in vibration isolation and seismic control business for the past 19 years now. I'm joining the call from Ontario, Canada today, and I want to talk a little bit about our current activities and the future we see for VISCMA. VISCMA has adopted using social media to reach out to industry leaders. After years of reaching out to consultants, contractors, and members of the industry via bulletin emails that we used to send out, we have changed our means of this outreach to social media. These social media posts are personalized to the topic of interest and therefore organically spread in this media through user interactions to a wider audience than just the followers of VISCMA only. We are quite efficient at creating those posts because the social media posts link back to existing bulletins and technical white papers, combining best of both worlds. In addition to these social media posts, VISCMA is continually working on live and offline webinars for continued education of the influencers of the industry, such as consultant engineers and project managers. The topics include educating others on how to interpret and apply codes, standards, and guidelines. We also educate public through our ever-growing resources, which collectively help create an industry standard of application of our products and solutions. This exposure we get to the industry as VISCMA helps market our overall niche solutions amongst HVAC professionals of influence. Moving on to other subjects on VISCMA today. Next slide, please. Yes, thank you. The website. So people who are already familiar with VISCMA, they navigate to our website for various resources that are available on the subject of vibration control and seismic and wind protection of HVAC systems. Our website is under continuous improvement to make new information more accessible, but also to make it more user-friendly. So our social media posts drive new people to our website as well. So when someone follows the link on a social media post on a topic that interests them, they discover a collection of resources developed by VISCMA on our website, developed by VISCMA experts over the years, many years. But also present on our website is the listed names of member companies. So, they get exposure to, who, these companies are as well. As you would appreciate, the traffic driven to our website end up promoting every member company directly. As mentioned earlier, social media posts are great for capturing public's attention and channeling people to our website using those existing resources. But VISCMA, not only captures traffic using existing resources, but we also continually work on expanding and growing the repository of technical white papers and bulletins continually. On new resources, we either address common or recent issues that might require collective expert opinion, or we'll look at outdated materials and update them as per latest developments in building codes in various standards. To move on to the next one, please. Yes. Our in-person meetings. Producing all that work would not have been possible if all of our valued members did not gather in a conference room for a full day twice a year. These meetings are scheduled concurrently with ASHRAE Winter Conference, HR Expo Trade Show, and ASHRAE Annual Conference in summers. This arrangement helps with attendance because most attendees for VISCMA already travel for these conferences during these dates. So meetings are very effective in terms of helping openly discuss and outline new focus areas, as well as getting some collaboration work done, like how we are doing this webinar today and how we prepared for it. These in-person meetings are also attended by those of us who may not have made it to that particular meeting, but they can attend that remotely. So we always have the remote connection to our in-person meetings as well. And in addition to those twice a year in-person meetings, VISCMA also incorporated a more flexible approach by adding online ad hoc meetings as needed. So these are typically project-driven and are open to all members, as long as there is agreement to meet at a certain day and certain time. These online meetings, in between, ad hoc meetings, accelerate pushing a project forward such as preparing for a webinar or reviewing new white papers in progress and things like of that nature. The engineers in member companies either have direct liaisons. Moving on to the promotion of VISCMA in different organizations. I would say mainly the engineers in those member companies. We either have like direct liaisons with many industry organizations or have relationships with individuals in these organizations. So this extends the VISCMA's sphere of influence. This is also welcomed by these organizations because our member companies' expertise help drive standards, guidelines, and codes published by these organizations and promoting them as well. As a result, VISCMA name is in general promoted along with the promotion of these codes, standards, and guidelines. I would say the enforcement of seismic and wind requirements are in a much better place than what they used to be 10, 15 years ago, thanks to years of efforts by colleagues from VISCMA member companies working in these organizations. And last but not least, I want to summarize, a little bit about what we see for VISCMA tomorrow's VISCMA. So we talked about VISCMA yesterday, VISCMA today. Now let's give you a little bit of summary of VISCMA tomorrow. Starting with building codes. Building codes are always changing, right? Building codes are ever-changing snapshots of minimum requirements to build safe buildings across North America. Some design requirements rely on use of historical data for wind and seismic forces. But new science, new trends in climate events have an impact on the assumptions and statistical values that are used to calculate these forces. For example, Don also mentioned like the 2005 hurricane season brought with it a significant event, the Hurricane Katrina. After this hurricane, the approach to wind forces and overall calculation method of wind forces have been revised so that the problems faced at the aftermath of this hurricane could not be repeated in the buildings that are built post-Katrina. So that's just one example. But we have experts that have been through these changes over the years and have the best interest of public safety at heart to help improve codes accordingly as new information, new science, new statistics become available especially with the global climate change. Expert members from within VISCMA will continue having influence on improvement and enforcement of these codes and regulations and keeping each other accountable as well. In addition to VISCMA's influence in code writing through our liaisons, VISCMA members also participate actively in ASHRAE as well. In contrast to wind and seismic requirements, vibration isolation installation practices are not generally code-driven, but rather driven by specifications and ASHRAE guidelines. Typically, these also get influenced by ASHRAE guidelines. VISCMA's direct involvement in ASHRAE, or VISCMA members, the experts being involved in ASHRAE helps improve these standards in light of modern building designs, especially as well, and keeping up with that. When a change is upcoming to these codes and standards, VISCMA member companies are typically the first to adopt because they have already been involved in developing those. So this puts the member companies ahead of competition that may be trying to undermine North American manufacturers. In addition to building codes and standards, FM Global and similar agencies are lately assessing the seismic, wind, and storm events of the last decade and how this has adversely affected building structures. So position papers and technical papers will potentially help guide the industry towards best public safety practices that are promoted by VISCMA. Last but not least, to talk about a little bit about the delegated design, what that means for us. VISCMA member companies are go-to resources for contractors and consultants when seismic and vibration problems are combined. Our products combine solutions to these problems, but not without appropriate selections and engineering work per site conditions done. So this delegated design capability is one of the most important aspects offered by VISCMA companies to the HVAC market. So, when a consultant and contractor, they're after a reliable partner, and typically it's something, that has become more and more important these days. When they're after a reliable partner on solution of these problems, getting delegated design support from a VISCMA member company provides much needed peace of mind in today's construction market. With that, I conclude the points of VISCMA tomorrow, and back at you, Jody. Thank you.
Thanks so much. I would like to share my absolute gratitude to those presenters, as well as our supporting members, for taking the time to develop and present this information today. I think it's very valuable. At this time, we're going to go ahead and turn off our recording function for questions. I know we are at the tail end of our time, so if you do need to leave, we absolutely understand. However, if following this session you do have any questions or requests, you can always send an email to the VISCMA office. You can do so at info@viscma.com. Also, for additional information on the organization, you can always check us out online at www.viscma.com, or of course, any of our social media platforms, which is LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, or X, or most of you know that as Twitter. So again, thank you everyone for attending today, as well as especially our presenters and our members.